protests raging outside.
Something's wrong with my chat box. What the hell? Where is it? Let me see what's going on. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. Ha! I'm an idiot. Dumb, dumb, dumb. All right, so this is Trump coming out there in Arizona. RFK had just announced that he is dropping out of the race and he is endorsing Trump. So this is obviously a Trump rally, and RFK is going to come out here. He's going to give his speech at the Trump rally, and I'm curious to see what he actually is going to say. I know RFK is wanting to work with Trump on a lot of issues like vaccines, with our food, with just a lot of different things. He gave a very good speech yesterday, so I just want to see what he has to say as he comes out and he talks to Trump. Obviously, as Trump comes out here, he's going to have his music playing, so I'm going to wait for him to stop his I Love America music. So yeah, he's just coming out here now. A lot of people there, and at this rally they have pyrotechnics, so it's getting pretty extreme. I don't know if they felt the need to kind of like bump it up a little bit more because of the DNC or what, but man, they upped the quality for sure. Yeah. He's really taking it all in. So far, everything that I heard from RFK, I'm a big fan. I like him. He seems genuine. People were commenting yesterday on the video that I did when he was giving his speech, dropping out, that he was crying. Yeah, he was crying. He's very passionate about these issues. It wasn't full on ugly crying or anything. He was able to get through his speech, very successfully. Hello, how's your day going? My day is going great. I'm caffeinated, so that's all it takes to make me happy. I got my coffee. I'm very simple, man. I'm a very simple person. Had my coffee outside this morning with my dog. Read a couple chapters of this book I'm trying to get into about LLCs and S corps. Well, hopefully I can start a coffee business one day. That's my plan, at least, to open a little coffee store. But that's in the making. That's going to take a while for me to actually get everything structured correctly. But he just killed the music, and now he's speaking. Maybe not. Maybe he's still got to take the crowd in a little bit, How you doing, Chad? Tell me how your day is going. It's already 1 p.m., almost 1:30 over here.
Thank you very much, and a very big hello, Arizona. Hello, Phoenix. I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's what you are.
America.
You built our country. 74 days from now, can you imagine? 74 days. Then we gently move into that beautiful White House and we take over our country and we make it great again. We're going to win Arizona. We're going to defeat Comrade Kamala Harris.
Comrade, come on. I really love that. That's
and
funny.
We're going to win back our beautiful White House. We're going to win it back. We're going to win it back in record force. Everyone here tonight is part of the greatest political movement in the history of our country. This is the greatest political movement. It's called Make America Great Again. And it's right now bigger and better and stronger than it ever was before. We won in 2016, and we did much better in 2020. A lot of people don't understand that, but we understand it. Millions and millions more votes.
Hey, politician.
But those two are nothing like the spirit that we have now. It's amazing. And that's because we've seen how bad government can be. That's why it's combinations of a lot of things, but the job.
What's going on, man? I'm glad to see somebody over on Twitch. Finally, I'm getting some viewers over on the Twitch.
The job they've done in destroying our country is unbelievable, and people have seen it. And because of that, there's never been anything like this. Right, Carrie? Right? Our movement is not about Democrat versus Republican. It's about patriotism and common sense. We have a common sense. We're the party of common sense. You say what you want. Nice to say conservative, but really, we're the party of common sense. We want fair elections, free elections. We want strong borders. We want a great military. We want great education.
Is there going to be a press conference every day until election? So actually, all this week, there was not a press conference. I'm assuming because of the DNC, even though Biden was only there for one day, they still didn't do a press conference all week. So maybe next week we'll pick it back up, get some White House press brief videos going again, because we didn't get updated all week. I don't know what's going on in the world. They did do Pentagon briefings, yada yada, all that stuff. So that was good information to have.
We want a nice home at low interest rates or low taxes and no regulations. That's why we're welcoming support from millions and millions of disaffected Democrats, and they are joining like wildfire. Now it's a little different than it was. You know, we had somebody, I was up 18 points, and they said, Joe, you can't win. You're getting out of the race. No, I want.
Is there a debate between Trump and Harris? Yes, I believe it's September 10th. Let me check on that for you, though.
to go and give it a shot. No, Joe, you're getting out of the race, Joe. And if you don't do it the nice way, we'll do it the tough way, Joe. And he said, okay, and now I have a new opponent. This never happened before. We spent $100 million and a lot of time on defeating him. And as soon as he was gonzo, it all started with the debate. The debate.
So I nailed it. Just to answer your question, it says it right there, Tuesday, September 10th. So we'll be ready for that. I'm definitely going to live stream it.
All that time, all that effort. A friend of mine said, you did a terrible job in the debate. I said, why do you say that? Everybody said I was brilliant. They said, no, you got him out of the race with that debate. It's all right. We have to do what we have to do, right? We have to do what we have to do. And now we have somebody that, in theory, should be easier to beat. In theory, because she's a radical left Marxist, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, those debates are going to be
but
fun.
We're welcoming the support from millions of
all that Project 2025 shit, bunch of lies is going to come crashing down on Kamala, unfortunately. And of course, you know, they're going to expose Trump for some lies too, because, you know, he's a politician as well. But man, she is really pressing the Project 2025 stuff.
Affected Democrats, independents, moderates, old-fashioned liberals who still believe in things like, little things like borders. I was there yesterday. That's a scary place.
Check it out. I got music for the likes now. Boom! Like number 2.
Sir, it's about time that you get out of the sun, sir. We're going to have to get you out of here, sir. Let's get the hell out of here. She was the border czar. She presided over the worst border in history. Not American history, world history.
Dang. Now we're up to 3. Like number 3. Appreciate it.
Democracy, liberty, and of course, always the right of free speech. We
I'm
don't
trying to
really
be
have
10.
free speech right now. The press, look at all of them. Look at all of them. Look at that. Wow.
Lock up Trump.
That's
in
a
the
lot
comments.
of press. That's a lot of fake news.
Who made Project
That's a
2025?
hell of a lot of fake news. Gone forever is the old Democratic Party of FDR.
I just wanted to hear the music. Yes.
That's right, even Bill Clinton. Kamala Harris's Democrat Party is the party of free health care for illegal aliens, communist-style price controls, defund the police. All her life she wants to defund the police. A little while ago she changed, didn't she, huh? Banning gas-powered cars and sex changes for minor children without parental consent. How about that one? How would you like that? Without parental consent. Can you imagine your kid comes home without parental consent? What happened to my baby? What happened?
So I don't think that's actually true. He's talking about California, and in California they just passed some law where if your kid is discussing like transgender kind of stuff, or they have ideas about being a transgender, they can talk to their teacher there, and the teacher isn't supposed to tell the parents. So that's a little squirrely. I don't think they can actually go through a sex change or anything like that without informing the president or the parents. The Heritage Foundation has essentially been pushing Project 2025 for about 30 years. Exactly. They try to push that on Trump, even though it's not really his thing. But that's how these things go down. But anyway, yeah, he's saying that they're not going to give parent consent and your child's going to be like kidnapped from you and given a sex change surgery. I don't think that's totally accurate, even though that California stuff I don't agree with. They shouldn't be talking about They should be talking about sex changes with your child and not informing you. That's crazy.
The true divide in American politics today is between these far-left fascists, led by Harris and her group, and you know who her group is, and citizens of all political backgrounds who love our country, share traditional American values, the values that you have right here in this great state, and look past our differences to unite around a thing called our great.
And just to kind of show you guys here, this is what I'm talking about. It says the law bans school rules requiring teachers and other staff to disclose a student's gender identity, sexual orientation to any other person without the child's permission. So it's just basically saying if your kid has some squirrely ideas that they're the wrong gender, they don't have to tell you. The teachers there, the principal, any of the administration, they don't have to tell you that.
American flag, and we should speak to our great congressmen and congresswomen. They ought to make it illegal to burn the American flag. If you burn the American flag, you go to jail for 1 year. 1 year, that's all, 1 year. You burn the American flag. Because in Chicago at the Democrat deal, they were burning flags all over the place. You burn the American flag. They say it's unconstitutional to do that. I think it's constitutional. You burn the American flag, you go to jail for 1 year.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I'm a vet too, and there's other vets in my chat right now that probably don't agree with that either. I would like to think you shouldn't go to jail for burning the flag. Although I don't like it, I disagree with it. I think those people are stupid. I don't think you should go to jail unless you're like using the flag to burn a building down or something, or you're a hazard to the environment around you. But as a form of speech, they shouldn't be putting people in jail for burning the flag. But if somebody comes along and punches you in the face, you kind of have to expect that.
Nobody's going to be burning the American flag anymore. Our opponents worship the deep state. We want to obliterate the deep state. Slight difference. Our opponents, thank you. Our opponents join with warmongers and neocons to wage endless wars, these wars that never end. We don't even know who the hell the country is that we're fighting. We believe that America is strongest when America is at peace. We want peace through strength. That's what we want. Like we had 4 years ago. We didn't have any wars, except we wiped out ISIS very quickly. It was supposed to take 5 years to beat ISIS. I did it in 3 weeks. They support coercive COVID.
When Trump first announced that we defeated ISIS, I was in the military and I tried putting that on my performance report and that didn't fly. So, bummer.
Vaccine mandates and want to fire you. If you don't obey, you get fired. We oppose these mandates as a fundamental violation of our God-given rights. We don't want the mandates. We don't want the mandates. They want to arrest their political opponents and silence those who disagree. We reject censorship in all forms, and we believe in freedom, open debate, and fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. Our opponents slander us as a threat to democracy. Trump is a threat to democracy. No, they're a threat to democracy. How many times have you heard, it's a talking point for them, right, Deb? It's a talking point. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And those guys say it too, because they're the same thing. They're like a part. They're a subsidiary of the Democrat Party. Meanwhile, they rig their primaries.
The media.
They force out Joe Biden. They force him out of the party. Joe Biden got 14 million votes in an unconstitutional coup, and they appoint a nominee who never got a single vote. And when she ran against this guy, and I'm no fan, he was the worst president.
How do you search on Twitch on an Android? I've never had an Android phone. I've always had an iPhone. All I'm getting are Russian gamers Maybe it's something set up with your location. Maybe they have you pinged to Russia somehow.
In the history of our country, he let in millions and millions of people through her. Let in millions of people would destroy our country. But we're going to get those people out, the people that came in here from jails and prisons and mental institutions. But they threw them out. You know, they ran against each other for the primary, and she never even made it to the first state, the great state of Iowa. Never made it. And now she's the one running. A little strange, isn't it? You see, that's really a threat to democracy if you get right down to it, right? In our movement, we know that democracy does not mean rule by the Democrat establishment. It means rule by the American people. Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Boom. The crowd. So I got to mute the audio, obviously, because they are playing Hero by Foo Fighters, which actually I want to show you something when it comes to that. I don't know if anyone's seen this yet, but check this out. So he's coming out to Foo Fighters' Hero, and this is from the news today. It says, Foo Fighters slam Trump for using My Hero. The Foo Fighters have condemned Trump for using their song My Hero to introduce Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at a rally in Glendale, Arizona without permission. Foo Fighters were not asked permission, and if they were, they would not have granted it. Furthermore, appropriate actions are being taken, and any royalties received as a result of the usage will be donated to the Harris Walz campaign. So now they need to come back and say that this was a non-profit event, so any money that was made is already donated to charity and stop them from getting paid somehow. But look at all the pyro they got for him. That's crazy. I just thought it was hilarious that the Foo Fighters immediately were on X saying that we don't support this. They didn't even ask us to come out with this music. All right. Whoa. Music's over.
And he deserves it. He deserves it.
USA.
For the past 16 months, Bobby has run an extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know, because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it.
Oof.
And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him in. They put up rules. I've never seen rules like he had to have 65% of the vote in order to run, you know, little things like that.
Insane.
His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy.
You should let him talk.
And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby. You want to know the truth? And I don't think I've ever introduced anyone that got applause like he just got. I must tell you, I don't think it's true. I don't think I've ever introduced anybody.
People like him.
That got applause like that. Amazing. It's true. Amazing.
That's a good-sized crowd.
Soon after I can't even believe I have to say this, nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last month, Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. When you stand up, you bring on some trouble for yourself, but you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right for the country. I will tell you, we are both in this to do what's right for the country. That's one thing I can tell you. He lost his father and uncle in service to our country, and Bobby himself was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration. And this is a tribute in honor of Bobby. I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
That should be interesting.
And they will also conduct a rigorous review of the attack last month. But I tell you, I have never had more people ask me, please, sir, release the documents on the Kennedy assassination. And we're going to do that. And I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more. Millions and millions of Americans who want clean air, clean water, and a healthy nation have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food. That's why today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases.
Like it.
Including autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and many more. We want every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life. So I just want to ask Bobby to speak for a little while. I'll stand aside. I'm going to stand aside.
Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say.
But I can only tell you, I've known him a long time. We've been a little bit on the opposite side of the equation, but I will say this, he is a brilliant, I still think of him as young. He's not that young.
Damn.
I always call him young, but he's not that young. But he is a phenomenal person, a phenomenal man who loves the people of this country as much as anybody can love the people of this country. So, Bobby, please say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you. Now, a few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies, are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked about, not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food?
What do y'all think about him? Personally, I like him. I've seen a lot of stuff online, people trying to discredit him, saying he is like a failed politician. He had a addiction to heroin that lasted decades. Somebody said he had like worms or something in his brain, which needs to be fact checked because I don't know if that's legit or not. But I'm curious to see what people think about RFK.
And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. He said he didn't want any more.
Just to show you guys that I'm not completely crazy, this is the New York Times, and it says RFK Jr. says doctors found a dead worm in his brain. So it's legit. He was experiencing memory loss and mental fogginess so severe that a friend grew concerned he might have a brain tumor. Mr. Kennedy said he consulted several of the top country's neurologists, and many of them whom had either treated or spoken to his uncle, blah, 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 blah. Several doctors noticed a dark spot on the younger Kennedy's brain scans, include that he had a tumor. Blah, 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 blah. And where does it talk about having the worm? I have cognitive problems, clearly, he said in 2012. I have short-term memory loss, and I have a longer-term memory loss that affects me. So on Wednesday afternoon, hours after this article was published, Mr. Kennedy posted a comment on his X profile. I offered to eat 5 more brain worms and still beat President Trump and President Biden in a debate. I feel confident in the result, even with a worm handicaps. There's some weird, squirrely stuff going on. It was funny how the rest of the Kennedy family came out right away to disavow him yesterday. Yeah, I saw that memo that they published. That's dirty. That's a family member. Like, how disgusting can people be?
$200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here in the United States. And the best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country. And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country? And he told me that he wanted to end the censorship because the whole...
So this is what Chad's talking about. It starts with Kerry Kennedy. She says, I'm sharing a personal statement that my family and I have made in response to my brother's announcement. And so she has a statement on RFK Jr.'s announcement today. We want an America filled with hope and bound together by a shared vision of a brighter future, a future defined by individual freedom, economic promise, and national pride. We believe in Harris and Waltz. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values. Fucking ads. Get out of here. Anyway. We believe in Harris and Waltz. Our brothers Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is a sad ending to a sad story. Yikes. That sucks. Like your own family isn't even endorsing you. They clearly have a stronghold within the Democratic Party, so that's why they are doing that.
Basis of American democracy is the free flow of information. And we know that a government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. And can you think of any time that you can look back in history and say that the people who were censoring were the good guys? They're always the bad guys. Because it's always the first step down that slippery slope to totalitarianism. And don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms? And who is going to protect us against totalitarianism. And I want to ask you again, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Yeah. Not to disgrace the American family of the Kennedys, the last time I heard of one of them was relevant was the one that dated Taylor Swift. Yeah, you haven't heard anything about them recently at all. They're only relevant because of President Kennedy. And this is the most notable thing that's happened in a long time.
Thank you all very, very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
It's a pretty quick one. America, USA.
Wow, that was something, huh? That was something. Fantastic guy. You know, he did well, and the polls are good and all, but you have to remember we have sort of like a two-party system. It was designed that way. And it's awfully tough. And as well as he did, he'd be at 10 and 15 and 16 points sometimes. That's a lot. That's a lot. But if he were in a regular system, like as a Democrat or perhaps as a Republican, but not against me, of course. But if he were in a regular system, there are a lot of people that maybe liked him the best. But they said, we can't vote. So with all of those votes he was getting, he has a lot of votes that he could have gotten. I think he's going to have a huge influence. We're leading now, but I think he's going to have a huge influence on this campaign. Actually, much bigger than you'd see in the polls, and those numbers are big to start off with, but Bobby and I will fight together to defeat the corrupt political establishment and return control of this country to the people. And to all who supported Bobby's campaign, I very simply ask you join us in building this coalition. It's a beautiful coalition in defense of liberty and safety, prosperity and peace. It's going to be an incredible coalition, and the relationship has been so good for so long. I have no doubt it's going to work and work well. But we have to win. We have to take our country away from these people that are going to destroy our country. We won't have a country left. So thank you very much. We need your vote. As you all know, this week the Democrats held their convention. You probably saw it, their party. The media says the big message from their convention was that we need to turn the page from the failures of the last 4 years. Do you believe it? They forgot. They've run it for the last 4 years. She was saying last night, we will stop the abuse. We will stop the high taxes. I said that you could have done it 3.5 years ago. In fact, you could leave that nice auditorium that you're in and go to the White House right now. You want to have a strong border? All you have to do is say to the incredible Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement, close the border now. You don't need bills. I did it. And we had the best border in history.
Now that Trump has RFK on his side, he really needs to come out and push policy and stop playing victim. Yeah, well, I mean, he does have policies that are actually out there. He does have his whole agenda, but he does come out and he plays victim all the time. And I think people are kind of sick of hearing that. They're kind of sick of hearing about the immigration stuff as well, I think. Obviously, there's issues there. We know a lot of stuff is going on. When he brought out the victims of the people that were killed, that was a big deal, I think. When he comes out and he talks about the polls, he keeps saying that he's leading. He's not leading. And in fact, after the DNC, it's showing that Harris is very far ahead. Some of these polls aren't updated, but let me show you. So just looking right here, Active Vote is the only one that's updated from yesterday, which would show the RFK endorsement. And even that one's showing Trump at 47% here and 53% for Harris. So she honestly has quite a bit of lead in these polls. Now, you could come out and say, I don't believe in polls. Polls are irrelevant. And, maybe that's true, but some of these aren't updated. Some of these are like the 22nd, so 2 days ago, 21st, 3 days ago. But either way, they're still showing like Harris having a huge dominance here, that she is way ahead in the polls.
Put up that chart. Put it up. That chart. I love that chart. I love that chart. Put it up. But I love that chart. Not everybody realizes, but that chart is very meaningful. Even beyond the numbers that are on the chart, it shows the least numbers of illegal immigrants pouring into our country. Again, prisons from mental institutions, terrorists, where the bottom arrow is. But you know what? That chart is meaningful in many ways. Some people understand what I'm talking about. I love you, darling. I love you. I'm going to sleep with that chart tonight, Deb. I'm going to sleep with that chart. But isn't that a beautiful sight? Look at that. Look at that arrow. And then look what happens when that was my last week in office. And look what happens after I left. It's like a rocket ship. Look at that. Isn't that terrible? No vetting, no checking. We have no idea who they are. They just pour into our country by the millions and millions and millions. We need to turn the page of 4 years of calamity and failure. They have had calamity and failure, and say, Kamala, you've done a horrible job. You've been the worst vice president in the history of our country. Kamala, you're fired. You're fired. Get out. Get out. Get out, Kamala. She's the only person ever to get a nomination of a party without getting one vote. She didn't get one vote. Hey, maybe she's smarter than we think. You know, you could look at it that way. As Vice President, Kamala cast the deciding votes, causing the worst inflation in decades, costing the typical American household $28,000. Think of this, higher prices. It was inflation, $28,000. As border czar, she flooded America with savage illegal alien criminals who have been raping, pillaging, and killing our cities and our towns. 3 years ago this week, she was the final vote.
To me, I can't fathom how people will vote for Kamala without policies. That's like signing for a loan without knowing the interest rate. I think those people are mainly just voting because they think Trump's a racist. I'm gonna be honest. I think a lot of the people, just from the videos you see of the people at the DNC, a lot of them are not necessarily they're not brained as if looking at it like an equation. They're basing it off of emotion. It's pretty much, she's gonna come out here, she's gonna make me feel good. It's like an Obama speech. An Obama speech makes you feel good, and that's what they're trying to sell Harris as. Now, we also can't discredit the huge amount of people who are going to vote for her just because she's a woman. There's going to be all kinds of women that vote for her just because she's a woman. There's going to be all kinds of people that vote for her just because she's black. And when she feels like being Indian that day, they're going to vote for her because she's Indian. Those are things that, you know, maybe people like us, we can't relate to because we don't understand it. You know, all these people are pretty much white men. But that is a huge factor. A woman is going to look at Harris and be like, I want to see a first woman president. And that doesn't, they're not going to care about her policies. They're going to say, this is what I want to see. I want to see somebody in that position who is just like me. And then they're going to check their box in the poll or in the voting booth, and that's how it's going to run.
On the catastrophic Afghanistan withdrawal, and we were withdrawing, but we were going to withdraw with dignity, with grace, and with strength. We would have been out faster, but we were going to keep Bagram. But that was the most embarrassing event in the history of our country, leading to horrific war and humiliation all over the world. When Putin saw that, he invaded Ukraine. It brought a lot of people back because they said the United States is run by incompetent people. The United States is no longer respected. It's no longer strong. That's what they said. A lot of these things that you're seeing now wouldn't have happened except for the horrible, horrible event of Afghanistan. You know, I was dealing with the leader of Afghanistan, Abdul, and I said, Abdul, you can't kill our people. He was killing our people. And I had a strong talk with him. I'm not going to get into it exactly. We went 18 months without one soldier being sniped at or shot at. Not one soldier injured or killed. And then we had a tremendous election where we did probably 10 or 12 million more votes than we got the first time. You know, most presidents don't get as many votes the second time because people get bored, but they don't get bored with me. They get bored. No, they get bored. Like Barack Hussein Obama got far fewer votes the second time, and he won. He won. Have you heard of him, Barack Hussein Obama? Remember Rush Limbaugh? Barack Hussein Obama. He was nasty to me. You know, he was nasty. Michelle was nasty. They're all nasty. Nasty people. They were very nice. I was surprised. I thought he was, and I was sort of nice to him. I said, no, you know, I like him. Good. It didn't matter. They were nasty to me. And, of course, last night, Kamala mentioned my name, I think, 21 times. She didn't mention the border. She didn't mention inflation. She didn't mention anything but my name.
I agree. I think Trump should have a white guys for Trump to cause havoc. Yeah, haha, just kidding. That would end his race. Yeah, I mean, there's so many white people that love Trump already. I'm gonna bring this up because I thought this was funny too. So this is Foo Fighters X page. This guy asked, "Hey Foo Fighters, did you let Trump use My Hero to welcome RFK Jr. on stage?" They just replied no, and then they retweeted it and said, "Let us be clear." Somebody called them the Foo Fighters. That's pretty witty.
Name over and over and over again. She blamed me for the border. I haven't been there in 4 years. You saw it. I had the safest border, the best border we've ever had. She blamed me for the border. They lied so much. They lied about everything. She said I was involved with something called Project 25. I don't even know what the hell it is.
Yeah, that was annoying.
No, they really were nasty. And then they say to me, "Sir, please stick to policy. Don't stick to personality. You should be nice to people, sir. You have to be nice." I call them up. My geniuses, they get paid a fortune. Actually, not that much. But I call up my people. I say, "They're knocking the hell out of me," and you say I shouldn't get personal. I have to get personal, don't I? I have to get personal. I have to get personal. They get personal. But I'm going to do my best. So they're allowed to get personal with me, but I'm not allowed to get personal to them. They call me names that are so bad. Our great First Lady says, "But you're not that way, darling." They love our great First Lady, I will tell you that. They do. They do. "But darling, you're not that way." I said, "I know that. And if I say something just slightly out of order, like, she didn't do a very good job last night, please never, ever mention look or anything like that. If you ever say, she didn't look really great, that's the end of your political career, so I wouldn't say a thing like that." How about her opening where she said, "Thank you, thank 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 you." I said, "What the hell is wrong with her, Deb?" Debbie Lesko, she's a winner. Is that Sheriff Joe? Oh.
I don't know who that guy is. So you got Kamala Harris over here on X. She's saying that's a wrap on the Democrat convention. Next stop, Election Day. What? No. Do an interview. Have reporters ask you questions. What are you talking about? People don't even know you.
That's Sheriff Joe. Look at that. A legend. You know, Sheriff Joe's looking at these clowns where they have no idea what they're doing, where people come in by the millions. He had nobody come in. Remember, he dressed everybody in pink. Remember that, right? Is that right, Joe? They had to dress in pink. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing. It wasn't bad. I mean, you know, you got a lot of killers that had a dress. But pink underwear, pink undershirt, and a pink outfit. Because he didn't want them coming into our country. Do you remember Arizona when Sheriff Joe was at the border? You didn't have people coming in. I think for the 1 year he had one person come in, but they got him. Now we have 3 million people coming in through your border. Your border. Oh, through the whole thing, it's ridiculous. It's not. Joe, it's an honor. And I'll tell you, people didn't treat you right. You are a legend, and you did a job like nobody else. True. Great going, Joe. And we love your wife. He lost his wife a few years ago, and she was a hell of a woman, right, Joe? But she's looking down at you, and she's proud of you. She's saying, you did very well with this group of people. But I've known you for a long time, and there was nobody like him. He understood the border better than anybody, and he ran it fairly. He ran very fair, but he ran it strong, and they respected him. They didn't even try. So thank you very much, Joe. And your wife she's proud of you. She's proud of you. Very proud of you. We're grateful to be joined tonight by the founder of Turning Point Action, a gentleman named Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Charlie. What a job he does. I said, Charlie, do me a favor. We got this thing won, but do me a favor, make sure they don't cheat. The only way they can do anything is if they cheat like hell, and we've been victims of that. Make sure they don't cheat, Charlie. We don't need the votes. We just want to make sure that they don't cheat. Hello, Sheriff. How are we doing? How are you guys doing? Good. Thank you. We need every sheriff to get over there, every law enforcement official, because we got the votes. We got to make sure everything's on the up and up. Charlie and his team of people, I mean, he's got hundreds of thousands of young people. It's actually quite discriminatory. Charlie, have you ever been sued by old people for not accepting them? He's got the youngest looking group of people, and they're warriors. They're unbelievable. The job Charlie has done is incredible. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. The job he's done is really incredible. Also with us is an incredible congresswoman who is
Just got up to 4 likes. Let's go. Boom.
decided to go onto a certain board. Do you know what I'm talking about? The most important board maybe in the whole country. And she's going to make sure everything's on the up and up. Debbie Lesko. Debbie, thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you, Debbie. You make sure, Debbie. She just won a big election by a massive, well, you won that election easy, didn't you? She won it pretty easy. Another person who's a friend of mine, he's a warrior for a long time. He's great. He loves his state, he loves our country. Andy Biggs, Congressman Andy Biggs. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. And 2 other warriors, a young one and a little bit older one, but boy, they are tough. You don't get tougher than Eli Crane and Paul Gosar. Paul Gosar. Great, thank you, Eli, great, great. Beautiful, great people. And the next congressman from Arizona's 8th District, Abe Hamadeh. Wow. He's gonna be good for a long time. He's a young gentleman. Great, Abe, great job.
I know I misplaced my coffee. This is not good. Yeah, that's a terrible thing. You definitely need the coffee. I'm already on cup number 2 this morning.
Great job, great heart. He went through a tough one. Arizona GOP chairwoman, she is doing a job. Gina Swoboda. Gina, she is doing a job. And a very good friend of mine, the next senator from Arizona, I really believe this. Look, she's running against, we don't have to do a big, I was going to bring her up. I was going to say, come on, Carrie, speak. But she just spoke for half an hour. What the hell am I going to do here? But I will tell you, she's running against a guy who's a rubber stamp for, it used to be Biden. Now, who the hell knows? I don't even know. Do we know who it is? Who would, a rubber stamp for somebody. But Ruben Gallejo is horrible. He's an open borders maniac. He's a defund the police maniac. He shouldn't be allowed to even run in this election against her because Carrie Lake is incredible. She's incredible. She's tough. She's smart. She's got heart. and she should be your next senator. I hope you win this sucker, because you are winning. You're running against a guy that cannot carry your shoes. I'm being nice. You know the expression, can't carry her shoes.
Sure.
And you're going to have a big victory, and we're going to work together, and we're going to make sure we win this state. I say this presidentially, if we win this state, which we're expected to, we're leading and all of that, we win the presidency, and we have to take Kari Lake with us. Go get him. Go get him, Kari.
Oh, yeah.
Go get him, Kari. Very important. And honestly, and forget, we all know Kari. She's been a newscaster for 22 years. Everybody knows her. She's just she's never had a problem. She's solid as a rock. This guy is a frickin' loser.
Barn Dog says, let's go Trump. What do you like about him? Tell me. Tell me what you like.
He's a loser. So with that, we'll go on. But good luck, Kari. We love you. Special. Since Democrats didn't talk about Kamala's horrendous record last night, we will. For nearly 4 years, Comrade Kamala Harris. I use that term, I don't know, but it's
Comrade.
good. Is it good or not, tell me? Let's do a poll.
Hilarious.
Let's do a poll. I love these free polls. Instead of spending $250,000 to a pollster that doesn't even poll, you know what they do? They take your money, they say, let's see, all right, 49 to 50. Well, no, it's one of the greatest businesses in history. I get a free poll here. Do you like the name? She's a radical left lunatic, okay? She's a defunder of the police. She wants to defund all the things that we talk about. Do I call her Comrade Kamala Harris or do I not? Ready? Ready?
Oh.
What do I do there? You tell me. You could tell me better than anybody. Okay, ready? I'll say yes or no. Yes. No.
And they just beat that guy up that says, yeah.
Comrade Kamala Harris. Has overseen a nation-wrecking border invasion. This is a nation-wrecking. It's an invasion. You know, one of the ways I built hundreds of miles of wall. I was there yesterday. I looked up and down. I said, man, I built a lot of wall. And we could have put up 200 miles more, but they didn't want to do it. And that's when I said, you know, I think they really want open borders. But we built much more wall than I said I was going to build. And you couldn't see the end of it yesterday. You couldn't see the end. We had a news conference, but it's a dangerous area. It's a dangerous area because of her, because of him. But he put her in charge, you know, whether she's borders are. And that's what she was called. Only recently did she say she doesn't have that. But you know what? She has been the worst manager. And the Border Patrol never even saw her. They never even met her. She's in charge of it. They never even met her. And you suffered the price. She's allowed at least 20 million illegal aliens into our country, including millions and millions of unvetted fighting-age men from 159 countries. You know, it's no longer just South America. They come from Africa, the Congo. They come from a lot of coming from jails in the Congo.
The
Let
jails.
me tell you, these people, the nice thing, they make our criminals look like the nicest people on earth. That's how tough they are. They come from the Middle East. They come from areas that we're fighting. They come from enemy terrain. They come from all over the world, and they do come from South America, but not only from South America. 159 different countries in the last year, and they're totally unchecked and unvetted. Every single year she's been in office, she has set an all-time high illegal border crossings record, triple and quadruple what the year before. where I'd have like 150,000 and she'd have 2.5 million.
I'll be right back.
What she has done to this country, nobody can tell you. You know, she destroyed San Francisco as the district attorney. She destroyed California. You know that. This is a woman that's going to take. She destroyed California. She had a policy. If you steal less than $950, you're allowed to keep it. You can go. We're not going to prosecute. So criminals are walking into stores, mean, nasty guys, rough guys, and they take calculators and they calculate. Let's say I want to get up. They walk out, then they walk back in. The whole thing. This is who we're going to have running our country? I don't think so. And nobody lies like her. She's a liar. She makes up crap. She's the one going to raise. You know, she said, Donald Trump is going to raise. You know why? She said I was going to raise it. Because I'm going to put tariffs on other countries coming into our country. And that has nothing to do with taxes to us. That's a tax on another country. And I did it with China, and we had no inflation. You know, I had no inflation. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China, and not one other president took in 10 cents. They were all, oh, China, we're afraid of China. We're afraid of China. According to a new DHS report, Kamala Harris also lost, and this is impossible to believe. Listen to this, 325,000 migrant children are gone. They're missing. She allowed them to be trafficked into our country. Many of these children are now in sex slavery or they're dead, probably mostly dead. They will never see their homes or their parents again. They were swiped out of their homes. They were taken out of their homes. 300.
All right, I'm back. What'd I miss? 5 likes, that's what I missed. All right, come on. Let's go. Let's see what's going on.
This is a government number, 325,000 children. Sex slaves,
Gotta get a soda.
or they're dead. Many are dead. Hamas has so little respect for Kamala and Joe Biden, crooked Joe Biden, that the hostages that they're talking about all the time, I believe they're largely gone. I believe they're largely gone. So sad. When you look at what happened, when you look at that attack on October 7th, I believe they're gone. And the reason they're not negotiating, you know, it says Hamas has decided not to negotiate because what they want back are the hostages. And I think those hostages, for the most part, aren't around anymore. And so they said, oh boy, we can't really negotiate because we don't have the hostages. The hostages are largely gone. How sad, how terribly sad. If they feared and respected Joe Biden and Kamala, they would never have killed those hostages. They would have never attacked. They would never have attacked when I was president. Iran was broke. Iran was broke. I told China, if you spend any money on buying oil from Iran, you'll never do business in the United States again, and we're going to put a 200% tariff on you. And Iran was broke, and they had no money for Hamas, and they had no money for Hezbollah. You can check your numbers. Look at it. When my last year, they had no money. We had no terrorism. You know, for 4 years, I didn't have any terrorism. Do you notice that? None. And when they asked Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, very strong guy, what is the reason that things are so bad now? The Middle East is blowing up. Russia's blowing up with Ukraine. There's wars starting all over the place. Looks like bad things could happen in Taiwan with China. What's the reason? He says, you got to get Donald Trump back as president. You won't have any problems. That's what he said. It's true. It's true. They respected your country. They respected your leader, but they respected our country. Now they laugh at our country. Our country has become a joke. She's provided deportation immunity to the vast majority of criminal aliens living inside the United States and is importing MS-13 gang members, known as the most violent gang of them all, into our cities and into our high school. Think of it, they're coming into our high schools. Kamala has set loose thousands of Venezuelan gang members who, according to law enforcement bulletins, have been...
All right, so CNN is reporting that that is false. I'm going to give you the information here. It says, facts first, Trump's claim that we didn't have an attack for 4 years isn't true. Let me scroll down. It says, Trump's own Justice Department alleged that a mass murder in New York City in 2017, which killed 8 people and injured others, was a terrorist attack carried out in support of ISIS. Trump repeatedly lamented this attack during his presidency. Trump's Justice Department also alleged that a 2019 attack by an extremist member of Saudi Arabia's military, which killed 3 U.S. service members and injured others at a military base in Florida, was motivated by jihadist ideology and was carried out by a longtime associate of Al-Qaeda. So we're going to say that one was probably false.
Given a license to shoot American police officers. You know that, right? Under Harris, ICE deportations are at the lowest level in history, the history of our country. She supports deadly sanctuary cities. Now, of course, she's flip-flopping on everything. You do know that, right? You know that, Joe? She's flip-flopping on everything. Debbie, right? She's a flip-flopper. Andy, she's a flip-flopper. She flip-flops on everything because she was polled. She said she didn't do too well. That's probably why she was the first out of 22 people. I can't get over it. She was the first failure. And now she's running. Oh, we're going to beat her. I look forward to the debate, too. I do look forward to the debate.
Those debates are going to be great. I'm excited for the debate.
Look forward to it. She called for abolishing ICE. These are great patriots who are tough as hell. You need tough people. She's compared ICE agents to the KKK. She wants to repeal the federal law that makes illegal immigration a crime, making illegal immigration totally legal. It's okay to come into our country. She wants to release all of the thousands of criminal illegal aliens that are locked up in detention centers, and these are the toughest of them all. She wants to release them into our country. We have detention centers for the toughest of them all. She says, we're going to release them. Now, maybe they'll ask her tonight, oh, no, I would never do that. She might change. She's changing and everything. But don't forget, if the election ever went haywire, if they can find a way to cheat enough and she wins, in quote, she wins, she's going to do everything that you wouldn't dream of, including no fracking. She didn't discuss fracking.
Stupid washing machine. Don't forget that military discount at Lowe's. 10%. I don't know if it applies to washing machines, though.
Last night, no fracking in Pennsylvania. I can't imagine she could do well in Pennsylvania. 500,000 jobs are involved with fracking, and a huge amount of their budget, everything's involved with fracking, and she's against it. In her speech last night, she lied about almost everything. She lied when she said, I was going to raise taxes. No, I'm lowering taxes. She's the one. She lied and said that, oh, this is the best. I'm going to be the one, and I was already there. I didn't touch your Social Security, and a lot of Democrats wanted me to. She lied when she said that I want to cut Social Security and Medicare. No, she wants to cut it because she wants to have the illegal immigrants coming into our country to go on Social Security and Medicare, which will destroy Social Security and Medicare. It's Kamala Harris who cast a tie-breaking vote to cut Medicare by $266 billion. She cut your Medicare, remember this, by $266 billion, and then promised mass amnesty last night to 20 million illegal aliens and make them American citizens, which will absolutely obliterate your Social Security and your Medicare, ultimately leaving those programs bankrupt and our seniors desperate and poor. And remember, when you talk about all of those hundreds of billions of dollars, you know what she's putting that money into? The Green New Scam. She took it out of your Medicare. She's putting it into one of the greatest ever, one of the great voices of sport. Stand up. Let's see if anybody knows who the hell you are. Good job. Hey, good man. He's done a good job. But she took it out and she wants to put it into the Green News scam. She said the border was safe under her direction. You know, they're the party of disinformation and misinformation. They'll say something 100 times. The border was safe. Did you see last night? The border's safe. The first time she said that was about 2 months ago, and she went like this. The border was
Yeah, I did
safe.
see that. It was rough.
She started choking.
He doesn't talk to the media.
They are the misinformation, disinformation. They lie. They keep saying the same untruth over and over again. And you know, you're not like in my business. You're not in this political business like these people. You're in other things. You're lawyers and you're carpenters and you're electricians and you're drivers and you're doing a lot of things. By the way, no tax on tips. Remember that? No tax on tips. No tax on tips. She tried that one, and yet in Congress right now they have bills to destroy people that don't. Do you see what's going on? It'll never happen with her. It's guaranteed to happen with me. No tax on tips. But actually, it's the most dangerous and unsafe border anywhere in the world. There's never been a border like it. No country ever. If a country had a border like that, they would fight with sticks and stones if they had to keep the people out. She believes that if you say things enough over and over again, even if they're stone cold lies, like Project 25, he believes in, I don't even know what the hell it is. I know it's a group of people that got together and they're slightly on the conservative side. And it's unbelievable what they do. It's really unbelievable. She would destroy our country if she was ever elected. Our country will go down the tubes. We'll be in a depression like 1929. We will not have a country any longer. Yesterday, I was at the border with the victims of Kamala's migrant crime wave. One of them is here with us tonight. Michael Morin is the brother of Rachel Morin, who you know about. Rachel was a cherished 37-year-old mom of 5 absolutely incredible children, beautiful woman. Last summer, Rachel was out on a run when she was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien who was led into America by Kamala Harris. Let her in. Said, let her in. The animal who committed this heinous crime first killed another woman in El Salvador before walking across the open border. Just walked right in, no problem. He then attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles before murdering Rachel in cold blood. Michael, I promise you, in Rachel's memory, we will stop this invasion and we will keep these savage criminals the hell out of our country. Thank you, Michael. Please. Thank you. So sorry, Michael. So sorry. Say hello to your parents and everybody, okay? Thank you. So horrible. We are so sorry, Michael. Thank you for being here. According to her own administration statistics on crime victims, Kamala Harris has presided over a 43% increase in violent crime. These are government numbers, by the way, including 58% increase in rape, 89% increase in aggravated assault, and 56% increase in robbery.
That lady in the back was yawning. Just want to point that out.
During the riots of 2020, she encouraged her followers to donate to bail criminals, looters, and arsonists and killers. People died, including Sean Michael Tillman, a dangerous repeat offender who went on to shoot and kill a Minnesota man 6 times in the head. He shot him 6 times in the head and torso. And Kamala let him out, let him go. While Kamala Harris was DA of Sanctuary City, San Francisco, 20 years ago, maybe the greatest city in the world. Today, it's unlivable. She ignored the pleas of victims' family. Please, please please don't do this to us. And refused to seek the death penalty against an illegal alien MS-13 gang member, one of the worst murderers they've seen in years, who murdered an innocent man and his 2 sons and didn't even remember he did it. As California Attorney General, she redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person as a non-violent crime. Comrade Kamala Harris destroyed single-handedly, with some help from the worst governor in our nation, Gavin Newsom, both San Francisco and California itself. He's a terrible governor. What a governor. For years, but you know, she might have picked a worse one. If you look at the numbers in Minnesota, we hope we're going to win Minnesota. You know, it hasn't been won since 1972, Richard Nixon. But we're doing well there, too. But the governor is horrible. You know what he did? He approved a bill to give tampons in every young man's bathroom. Right? Think of that. This is what we have. This is our vice president, our potential president. Tampons in boys' bathrooms. For years, Kamala Harris has pushed legislation to strip police officers of protection, trying to bankrupt them and ruin their lives for doing their jobs. No protection, no immunity, no nothing. She even endorsed defund the police. I will never defund the police. I will only fund the police and fund them with plenty of money and pride. I will always back our law enforcement heroes in blue. We are pleased to be joined tonight by the president of the Arizona Police Association, Justin Harris. Oh, no, he's not a relation. Justin, are you a relation? Last name is Harris, spelled the same. I'm very concerned about this. I'm not really. But Justin Harris is a great gentleman who has a special announcement. Justin, would you please come up? Thank you.
Before we get crazy with whoever is about to come out here, I just want to bring this up where he was talking about her being soft on violent crimes like rape. So I just to fact check it so we understand what he's talking about here. It says the measure itself declares any person convicted of a nonviolent felony offense and sentenced to state prison shall be eligible for parole consideration after completing the full term for his or her primary offense. So this is the change that they were trying to make, giving parole for members who have a non-violent felony. So it goes on to say, but what's a non-violent felony? Brown's campaign acknowledged that the measure, if enacted, would offer easier parole to anyone convicted of a crime not specifically listed as a violent felony in Penal Code Section 667.5. That section includes rape, but limits its definition to sexual intercourse by force, violence, extortion, or threat. It includes dozens of other forms of rape, including rape with a foreign object and other sexual assaults that Harris Crime Report considers to be violent crimes. So it's a little iffy what he's kind of talking about here, how they define the definition of a violent crime. So obviously people are going to be able to get out depending on how their lawyer argues those certain definitions.
That's an interesting. I'm not worried about it.
So this person here, I personally don't care about him. I'm going to go forward because I'm not really here to listen to this guy. I'm only here to listen to see what policies Trump's might announce.
Countries, and that's the only ones we know about.
In American history, larger even than President Dwight D. Eisenhower in the 1950s, who was a big believer in borders. We will defeat inflation and we will make America affordable again. You're going to have an affordable country again. We will make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. It won't even be close. Remember, as I always say, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country in the world, including Saudi Arabia, including Russia. and we will use it to reduce taxes and energy costs for our people. We will reduce your energy bills in 1 year by more than 50%. That's here and that's everywhere in the country. And that includes heating, air conditioning, electricity, and gasoline for your car. I will turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower more than it has ever been, ever before. We will bring back jobs to America. We will no longer allow foreign countries to take our jobs and to steal our wealth. We will make our own products, and we will buy far less from foreign countries than we are buying right now. We're going to make it here. Other countries that make us pay a tax to do business with them will be charged the same tax when they send their product into the United States. It'll be called the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. And if China or any other country charges us a 100% tax or tariff, then we will charge them a reciprocal tariff of 100 or 200%. In the words of a great president, William McKinley, the protective tariff policy of the Republicans has made the lives of our countrymen sweeter, brighter, and it's the best our citizenship and our civilization can ever have. Better destiny for our people. We ought to take care of our own nation, and we have to take care of our industries first. We have to take care of our country first. It's about time, and it's going to happen starting on January 20th of next year. I will not let Mexico, China, or any other country sell cars into the United States to the detriment of our auto workers all over our country, including in Michigan and South Carolina. United Auto Workers, you're going to vote for Trump because I'm going to bring you back more auto production than you've ever seen in this country before. I will end the ridiculous electric vehicle mandate, cut every job-killing regulation of the Harris-Biden administration, and make our auto manufacturing business bigger, better, and stronger than it has ever been before.
I think he's about finishing up here.
And if you relied on Kamala, there would be no auto industry. Within 3 years, you'll never make another car. When I am back in the White House, we will pass large tax cuts for our workers, and there will be, as I said, no tax on tips. And that means if you're a restaurant worker, a bartender, hospitality worker, caddy, barber, mover, driver, or anyone else who relies on tip income, your tips will be 100% yours to keep. You will no longer be harassed by your government. And I will fight for and protect your Social Security and your Medicare with no cuts and no changes in age. We're not going to move it up. They want to move it up 5 years. We're not doing it. Darling, when do we get our Social Security? Well, they just moved it up 5 years. You're not going to happen with me. It's going to happen with them. They're going to destroy your Social Security. And we will have no tax on Social Security benefits for seniors. They destroyed our seniors and everyone else with their horrible inflation. And then they give you small dollars with Social Security and they want you to pay tax. I don't know. We don't need it. We can do it. We have so much else, including that liquid gold. Oh, we're going to go hunting for liquid gold. We will cut wasteful and unnecessary spending, and we will terminate the Green New scam and spend that money on roads, bridges, real infrastructure, and paying down debt. No fake infrastructure that has caused massive inflation with no benefit whatsoever to our population. I will settle the war in Ukraine, and I will end the chaos in the Middle East, and we will restore peace through strength, and it will happen quickly. I will have that war ended before I go to the White House on January 20th, I will have the war in Ukraine ended as president-elect. And we will end the weaponization of government against the American people, including myself, by the way. They've weaponized the government against the political opponent. Can you imagine? But you just saw we won the big case down in Florida. Everyone said, oh. They weaponized it. They got their Justice Department to go after their political opponent, but they're not doing well. I'm the only one that ever happened to where my numbers went up. What do you think about that, Mr. Congressman? I don't think it's ever happened. They go after me and my numbers go up. Somebody's got to explain this. We will rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful once again. And we will keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, because right now it is under siege.
Yeah.
And this is how we will end the era of inflation, mayhem, and misery under Kamala and Crooked Joe, and unleash safety, prosperity, peace for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed. Together, we will deliver low taxes, low regulations, low energy costs, low interest costs, low inflation. And that's for everyone. We're talking about everyone. We want to make sure everyone can afford groceries, a car, and a home. We will stop the invasion, end migrant crime, support our great police, strengthen our military, build a missile defense shield around our country, keep critical race theory and transgender insanity out of our schools, and we will keep men out of women's sports. We will defend the Second Amendment, and we're going to restore. Those people don't allow it. The fake news doesn't allow it. We will restore free speech in our country, and we will secure our elections, Mr. Congressman. Everyone will prosper, every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with joy and opportunity and hope. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris, a new name. We must stop her country-destroying liberal agenda once and for all. We have to put an end to it. So get your friends, get your family, register, volunteer, and get out to vote. We want a landslide that is too big, too rigged, too big, too rigged. Right? Right, Deb? On November 5th, we will save our country. We will save our economy. We will rescue our middle class. We will reclaim our sovereignty and restore our borders. We will put America first, and we will take back our country. And together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again, so strong. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. God bless you all. God bless you.
All right, that's Trump. There he is. He brought out RFK, which is really what I wanted to see in this one. So there he is. All right, I'm going to go to the restroom really quick, and then I'm going to come back and watch what Chair Jerome Powell had to actually say about interest rates and lowering the cost of a mortgage for me because I need to buy a house. Yeah, I'm still alive. Yeah, it was just the end of Trump's speech. He didn't really miss anything. Same old stuff. Make America great again, all that yada yada. Nothing crazy. All right, so Jerome Powell is about to come out here and say that he is lowering interest rates, which is going to be great because then we can all buy houses again at a lower payment. So that's my bet is he's going to come out here and say, hey, Cliff, we're going to help you out. We're going to lower these rates. We're going to make these payments more affordable, and you can stop renting your house. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say. There he is.
Thank you, Karen, and thanks to our host from the Kansas City Fed. It's great to be back here today. 4.5 years after COVID-19's arrival, the worst of the pandemic-related economic distortions are fading. Inflation has declined significantly. The labor market is no longer overheated, and conditions are now less tight than those that prevailed before the pandemic. Supply constraints have normalized, and the balance of risks to our two mandates has changed. Our objective has been to restore price stability while maintaining a strong labor market, avoiding the sharp increases in unemployment that characterized earlier disinflationary episodes when inflation expectations were less well anchored. While the task is not complete, we have made a good deal of progress toward that outcome. Today, I will begin by addressing the current economic situation and the path ahead for monetary policy.
Good.
I will then turn to a discussion of economic events since the pandemic arrived, exploring why inflation rose to levels not seen in a generation and why it has fallen so much while unemployment has remained low. So let's begin with the current situation and the near-term outlook for policy. For much of the past 3 years, inflation ran well above our 2% goal, and labor market conditions were extremely tight. The FOMC's primary focus has been on bringing down inflation, and appropriately so. Prior to this episode, most Americans alive today had not experienced the pain of high inflation for a sustained period.
And we're still above that goal. We're just hit 2.9% inflation.
Inflation brought substantial hardship, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials, like food, housing, and transportation. High inflation triggered stress and a sense of unfairness that linger today. Our restrictive monetary policy helped restore balance between aggregate supply and demand, easing inflationary pressures and ensuring that inflation expectations remained well anchored. Inflation is now much closer to our objective, with prices having risen 2.5% over the past 12 months. After a pause earlier this year, progress toward our 2% objective has resumed. My confidence has grown that inflation is on a sustainable path back to 2%.
Okay.
Turning to employment, in the years just prior to the pandemic, we saw the significant benefits to society that can come from a long period of strong labor market conditions. Low unemployment, high participation, historically low racial employment gaps, and with inflation low and stable, healthy real wage gains that were increasingly concentrated among those with lower incomes. Today, the labor market has cooled considerably from its formerly overheated state. The unemployment rate began to rise over a year ago and is now at 4.3%, still low by historical standards, but almost a full percentage point above its level in early 2023. Most of that increase has come over the past 6 months. So far, rising unemployment has not been the result of elevated layoffs, as is typically the case in an economic downturn. Rather, the increase mainly reflects a substantial increase in the supply of workers and a slowdown from the previously frantic pace of hiring. Even so, the cooling in labor market conditions is unmistakable. Job gains remain solid, but have slowed this year. Job vacancies have fallen, and the ratio of vacancies to unemployment has returned to its pre-pandemic range. The hiring and quits rates are now below the levels that prevailed in 2018 and 19. Nominal wage gains have moderated, and all told, labor market conditions are now less tight than just before the pandemic in 2019, a year when inflation ran below 2%. It seems unlikely that the labor market will be a source of elevated inflationary pressures anytime soon. We do not seek or welcome further cooling in labor market conditions. Overall, the economy continues to grow at a solid pace, but the inflation and labor market data show an evolving situation. The upside risks to inflation have diminished, and the downside risks to employment have increased. As we highlighted in our last FOMC statement, we are attentive to the risks to both sides of our dual mandate. The time has come for policy to adjust. The direction of travel is clear, and the timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. We will do everything we can to support a strong labor market as we make further progress toward price stability. With an appropriate dialing back of policy restraint, there is good reason to think that the economy will get back to 2% inflation while maintaining a strong labor market. The current level of our policy rate gives us ample room to respond to any risks we may face, including the risk of unwelcome further weakening in labor market conditions. So let's now turn to the questions of why inflation rose and why it has fallen so significantly even as unemployment has remained low. There's a growing body of research on these questions, including Gowdy Eggerson's work, which we'll shortly discuss. And this is a good time. It is, of course, too soon to make definitive assessments, analyzed and debated long after we are all gone. The arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic led quickly to shutdowns in economies around the world. It was a time of radical uncertainty and severe downside risks. As so often happens in times of crisis, Americans adapted and innovated. Governments responded with extraordinary force, especially in the United States. Congress unanimously passed the CARES Act. At the Fed, we used our powers to an unprecedented extent to stabilize the financial system and help stave off an economic depression. After a historically deep but brief recession, in mid-2020, the economy began to grow again. And as the risks of a severe extended downturn receded, and as the economy reopened, we faced the risk of replaying the painfully slow recovery that followed the global financial crisis. Congress delivered substantial additional fiscal support in late 2020 and again in early 2021. Spending recovered strongly in the first half of 2021. And the ongoing pandemic shaped the pattern of the recovery. Lingering concerns over COVID weighed on spending on in-person services, but pent-up demand, stimulative policies, pandemic changes in work and leisure practices, and the additional savings associated with constrained services spending all contributed to a historic surge in consumer spending on goods. The pandemic also wreaked havoc on supply conditions. 8 million people left the workforce at its onset, and the size of the labor force was still 4 million below its pre-pandemic level in early 2021. The labor force would not return to its pre-pandemic trend until mid-2023. Supply chains were snarled by a combination of lost workers, disrupted international trade linkages, and tectonic shifts in the composition and level of demand. Clearly, this was nothing like the slow recovery after the global financial crisis. Enter inflation.
Yep.
After running below target through 2020, inflation spiked in March and April 2021. The initial burst of inflation was concentrated rather than broad-based, with extremely large price increases for goods in short supply, such as motor vehicles. My colleagues and I judged at the outset that these pandemic-related factors would not be persistent, and thus that the sudden rise in inflation was likely to pass through fairly quickly without the need for a monetary policy response. In short, that the inflation would be transitory.
You guys remember
Standard
that?
thinking has long
Remember that right before, or we're experiencing inflation, and he came out and he said that inflation was just transitory. Guys, it's just transitory. It's going to go away. Everything's fine. And we're still dealing with it today.
In that, as long as inflation expectations remain well anchored, it can be appropriate for central banks to look through a temporary rise in inflation. The good ship transitory was a crowded one, with most mainstream analysts and advanced economy central bankers on board. I think I see some former shipmates out there today. The common expectation was that supply conditions would improve reasonably quickly, that the rapid recovery in demand would run its course, and that demand would rotate back from goods to services, bringing inflation down. For a time, the data were consistent with the transitory hypothesis. Monthly readings for core inflation declined every month from April through September 2021, although progress came slower than expected. The case began to weaken around mid-year, as was reflected in our communications. And beginning in October, the data turned hard against the transitory hypothesis. Inflation rose and broadened out from goods to services, and it became clear that high inflation was not transitory and that it would require a strong response if inflation expectations were to remain well anchored.
Oh, shit.
We recognized that and pivoted beginning in November. Financial conditions began to tighten, and after phasing out our asset purchases, we lifted off in March of 2022. By early 2022, headline inflation exceeded 6% and core was above 5%. New supply shocks appeared.
Yep.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine led to a sharp increase in energy and commodity prices. The improvements in supply conditions and the rotation in demand from goods to services were taking much longer than expected, in part due to further COVID waves in the United States. And COVID continued to disrupt production globally, including through new and extended lockdowns in China. Higher rates of inflation were a global phenomenon, reflecting common experiences: rapid increases in the demand for goods, strained supply chains, tight labor markets, and sharp hikes in commodity prices. The global nature of inflation was unlike any period since the 1970s. Back then, high inflation became entrenched, an outcome we were utterly committed to avoiding. By mid-2022, the labor market was extremely tight, with employment increasing by 6.5 million jobs from the middle of 2021. This increase in labor demand was met in part by workers rejoining the labor force as health concerns began to fade. But labor supply remained constrained, and in the summer of 2022, labor force participation remained well below pre-pandemic levels. There were nearly twice as many job openings as unemployed persons from March 2022 through the end of the year.
So I'm really wanting to hear what his plan is going forward now that we're saying inflation has kind of stabilized with that 2.9%. We need to bring it down more to our target 2%, but we're getting there. What's the plan going forward? Are you going to cut these rates?
Signaling a severe labor shortage, and inflation peaked at 7.1% in June 2022. At this podium 2 years ago, I discussed the possibility that addressing inflation could bring some pain in the form of higher unemployment and slower growth. Some argued that getting inflation under control would require a recession and a lengthy period of high unemployment. And I expressed our unconditional commitment to fully restoring price stability and to keeping at it until the job is done. The FOMC did not flinch from carrying out our responsibilities, and our actions forcefully demonstrated our commitment to restoring price stability. We raised our policy rate by 425 basis points in 2022 and another 100 basis points in 2023, and we've held our policy rate at its current restrictive level since July 2023. The summer of 2022 proved to be the peak of inflation. The 4.5 percentage point decline in inflation from its peak 2 years ago has occurred in a context of low unemployment, a welcome and historically unusual result. So, how did inflation fall without a sharp rise in unemployment above its estimated natural rate? Pandemic-related distortions to supply and demand, as well as severe shocks to energy and commodity markets, were important drivers of high inflation, and their reversal has been a key part of the story of its decline. The unwinding of these factors took much longer than expected, but ultimately played a large role in the subsequent disinflation. Our restrictive monetary policy contributed to a moderation in aggregate demand, which combined with improvements in aggregate supply to reduce inflationary pressures while allowing growth to continue at a healthy pace. As labor demand also moderated, the historically high level of vacancies relative to unemployment has normalized primarily through a decline in vacancies, without sizable and disruptive layoffs, bringing the labor market to a state where it is no longer a source of inflationary pressures. A word on the critical importance of inflation expectations. Standard economic models have long reflected the view that inflation will return to its objective when product and labor markets are balanced without the need for economic slack, so long as inflation expectations are anchored at our objective. That's what the model said. But the stability of longer-run inflation expectations since the 2000s had not been tested by a persistent burst of high inflation. It was far from assured that the inflation anchor would hold. Concerns over de-anchoring contributed to the view that disinflation would require slack in the economy and specifically in the labor market. An important takeaway from recent experience is that anchored inflation expectations, reinforced by vigorous central bank actions, can facilitate disinflation without the need for slack. This narrative attributes much of the increase in inflation to an extraordinary collision between overheated and temporarily distorted demand and constrained supply. While researchers differ in their approaches and to some extent in their conclusions, a consensus seems to be emerging, which I see as attributing most of the rise in inflation to this collision. All told, the healing from pandemic distortions, our efforts to moderate aggregate demand, and the anchoring of expectations have worked together to put inflation on what increasingly appears to be a sustainable path to our 2% objective.
Just in time for the election.
Disinflation while preserving labor market strength is only possible with anchored inflation expectations, which reflect the public's confidence that the central bank will bring about 2% inflation over time. That confidence has been built over decades and reinforced by our actions. That is my assessment of events. Your mileage may differ. So let me wrap up by emphasizing that the pandemic economy has proved to be unlike any other, and that there remains much to be learned from this extraordinary period. Our statement on longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy emphasizes our commitment to reviewing our principles and making appropriate adjustments through a thorough public review every 5 years. As we begin this process later this year, we will be open to criticism and new ideas while preserving the strengths of our framework. The limits of our knowledge, so clearly evident during the pandemic, demand humility and a questioning spirit focused on learning lessons from the past and applying them flexibly to our current challenges. Thank you.
Is he going to take questions, or surely that's it? He didn't. Come on, guys. So he didn't even actually come out and say he's going to cut rates, but I think that's probably next on his list, because he's saying everything's going back to normal, so hopefully it's coming. It's coming for anyone who wants to buy a house. Big old yikes on that one. I really thought he was going to say that. All right, Tulsi Gabbard is here, and she says Kamala Harris has no plan, which she doesn't.
Protests raging outside the DNC in Chicago. Demonstrators call for Democrats to push for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Come on.
And they're pretty much anti-Semitic.
Beat
But
him.
inside the arena, the Vice President, Harris, appeared to play both sides of the issue.
I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused. At the same time, What has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost.
She is lying. She does not care. She is so pro-Israel. That's why all of these people are protesting out of the Democrat convention right now.
Yep, and the crowd got a lot louder on that second half of her statement, trying to be both sides on the issue. Former presidential candidate,
fake.
Former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard joins us now to comment, who famously debated on the same stage with Kamala Harris back in 2020. First off, your reaction to that statement, Tulsi, what did you get from it?
Well, like you said, she's playing both sides, and she's trying to tell people what she thinks they want to hear. Kamala Harris, that she only wants to win, and her pollsters are telling her, well, here's what we think you should say about this or that. It was just a few days ago she said that she would support an arms embargo to Israel, and the very next day either she or her staff walked that back. I think it was very noticeable that in her speech and at no time so far has she been willing to speak the truth about how Hamas is a radical Islamist terrorist group that poses a threat not only to Israel, but to all of civilization. Their goal is to implement a caliphate, an Islamist caliphate around the world.
It's pretty obvious at this point that Kamala Harris doesn't actually want to lay out any of her policies until you elect her, and then she's going to tell you what her policies are. She's not actually going to come out and give you details of the things that she really wants to accomplish. She's going to come out and she's going to play to your emotions. She's going to say, I'm going to give everybody free money. Here's everybody money and healthcare, and I'm going to do all this stuff, and not have a plan at all for how she's going to do any of that. But people are stupid. They're going to listen to her. And that's not even, people are in the comments right now, oh, but Trump, blah, 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 blah. We're not talking about Trump. We're talking about Kamala. We're talking about what she does. She's playing to people's emotions. She's playing to both sides. She's not being descriptive in actually what she wants to do in her policies.
Nor has she laid out a plan of how to defeat this very real threat, not only again for Israel, but for us.
How about defeating Hamas, and every civilian death is on Hamas, and Iran is the problem? And when I last dealt with Iran, I signed off on a $6 billion cash deal to get...
And that's our 6th like. Woo! Finally doing it. Trying to beat 10 likes today.
Get our hostages out, obviously, by the definition, should never been taken to begin with. Not getting to victory. When she had a chance, Congresswoman, to actually show herself with an ally, she chose not to show up when Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed a joint session of Congress. What should I read into that? Should I listen to that speech, or should I look at her actions?
And this exactly is what we have to do, what voters need to pay attention to between now and Election Day on November 5th, is don't listen to the words that she's throwing at us, because they don't mean anything. We have to look at her record and her actions. She wants to be our president and commander.
It's her record. I agree with Tulsi, absolutely. But Kamala still does not have her plan on her website. She doesn't actually have the fine details of what she wants to do. How can you vote for somebody that doesn't have that on their webpage or have a plan? You're voting for essentially nothing.
In chief, and yet at no time has she demonstrated that she has any capability or that she is fit to serve in that position. In fact, she would be quite dangerous in that position, and I have no doubt she would try to weaponize and use our military in order to try to cover up and mask her weakness and insecurity.
Tulsi, it's going to be a big day for the former president if the reports are correct, and RFK Jr. will appear with him in Arizona and say, I'm out, and I like all my supporters to go behind President Trump. Who are his supporters? You know him. And what do you think this does to the election?
You know, his supporters are independent-minded people who value freedom, who are concerned about what President Biden and Vice President Harris have done to our country and leading us into the brink of multiple regime change wars, the brink of World War III and nuclear war. They're concerned about this broken healthcare system and the deep rot of corruption that is entrenched in almost every agency in our government. We'll see what Bobby Kennedy decides to do, and you know, no vote should be taken for granted. He'll have to make the case to his supporters reporters about the very clear contrast between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Kamala Harris standing for taking away our freedom, an increasingly tyrannical government, and more war, versus Donald Trump, who stands for peace, prosperity, and freedom.
And also the partnership that RFK and Trump are going to have together, the issues that they've already said that they're going to work on together, you know, fixing our food, fixing any kind of medical issues that are going on. There's so many things that RFK is really passionate about that I think he's going to be an asset to Donald Trump.
Tulsi, real quick, you already met with the former president about with debate prep. You went down there and told him what you know about Kamala Harris. How's he doing?
He's doing great. You know, I think you saw last night in his response to Kamala Harris's speech, he knows the issues. He is very honed in on her record and reminding voters, as you started in this conversation, what have you done for the last 3.5 years? You can paint this rosy picture about what you're going to do, but we're paying attention to what you've already done and how her policies have destroyed our economy, made us less safe, both here at home and abroad.
Absolutely. It's weird because she's coming out to say the economy's great, but then at the same time she goes and campaigns and says the economy's terrible and I'm going to fix it. It makes no sense. If the economy was great, then of course people are going to continue to vote for you because you have this legacy with the current president. But you can't play both sides. It doesn't work like that. It's really limited news today. Very limited. See what's going on. All right, so this is a report right outside the RFK rally. So I want to go ahead and see what's going on with this.
They had the keys to the kingdom. They thought they had brainwashed all of us and they were going to be able to shut down society, make remote schooling permanent, bring in central bank digital currencies, get rid of cash. This whole agenda that's kind of been revealed, they thought they were going to get all of it, but it didn't work because too many people rose up and stopped it. But Big Pharma has been doing these scares for a long time, and when they do that, primarily it's pump and dump. It's pump up a stock price, get the federal government to give a ton of money to a big pharma corporation, get that stock price high, get all this vaccine or drugs or whatever out.
So where's my Wall Street bets on Reddit, people? So many years ago, we actually used to look for these pharmaceutical companies that were going to release their clinical trials results, and we would try to get into these stocks before they announced the results, hopefully getting in before they were going to pump the price of these stocks. And money can be made doing that. That was actually something, it was a long time ago I used to do this. It was when I was very young in the military. You can definitely make some money doing that. It's a total gamble because the results can actually flop and then you lose money. but hopefully you can sell out before the stock dips too much. But it's definitely a thing out there.
Try to get as many people to take it as possible. And if they don't take it, they ship it all off to black and brown countries. And if they take it, fine. And if they don't take it, they throw it away. They don't care. They've made their money. So I'm not scared of monkeypox, bird flu, chicken pox. I mean, whatever it is they're saying we need to be scared of now, because most of these are really just pump and dump schemes. They're just trying to take public money and give it to big pharma.
Exactly.
We will have our new 1776 moment, and we will rise above the low vibration, fear, division, and hate that is propagated by the Uniparty, the Republicans, and the Democrats. My name's Kyle Kemper, child of the earth. I have a bus called the Kennedy Bus.
Oh, wow!
Child of the earth.
Can I hop in?
If you want to be taken seriously by, The Guardian, you want to kind of rise into that.
Big paper, London, 9th largest English language publication in the world, The Guardian.
You need to close the chapter on this ski mask.
Oh, man.
Do you guys understand that we're in the year 2024 and we have exponential technologies all around us?
Those of us who feel that way have no home other than Bobby's campaign in this election cycle.
People like yourselves are finally fed up.
My first cause was ending the war on drugs. It started in some part as sort of a selfish thing, right? It was a recognition in my own life of the roles that things like cannabis and psychedelics had played, and how early in my life I realized I had already been lied to about something very deep and fundamental. You could almost look at it like magnetism or something. There's a certain amount of and if you can overcome that force enough, you can get out of its thrall, its force. You can just outside of the window of that magnet's stickiness, and all of a sudden, it falls away actually quite quickly. But how do you cut through? How do you reach somebody where they're at when they're in such an extreme fear state, and that's holding their worldview in place? We talk about the issues via a specific personality and try to align them as the perfect avatar of issues.
I love this guy right here.
It's one thing I learned about working with Vice President Harris, is she always stand on business.
That whole paradigm is based on identifying the adversary by the worst possible caricature you can point at them. And then as an in-group activity, deciding that that is an accurate portrayal of that other person or group. And then the campaign promises, they never really come deeply, deeply into play. And by the way, independents just became, I believe, 51% of the electorate. So we're already the largest voting bloc. The only thing keeping us out is the self-fulfilling prophecy from repeated messaging that there is no chance.
Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying, let's go, holding a fundraiser in Chicago.
My name's Michael Caine. I'm a former New York City public school teacher, but I was fired because I didn't get the COVID shot. And when that happened, the only person who really stuck up for me was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He backed my lawsuits through Children's Health Defense, and we've been suing for over 3 years now. And it really was an important thing for my family. And when he announced he was running for president, I was all in right away. So that's why I'm here.
Free Palestine in our lifetime. Liberation is coming tomorrow, basically. Yep. I saw you at the protest.
Tomorrow? They never did anything. Obviously, this is in the past. I wonder how these people feel now that RFK has dropped out. They're smoking crack. We all knew he was not going to win. I know they want to believe it. We all knew he wasn't going to win. Let's just be real.
Tess, who are you?
Yes, I'm Saddam with Channel 5.
Are you pro-Palestinian?
I'm pro-Palestinian.
Hell yeah, one-state solution. Free Palestine.
Well, Bobby believes in a two-state solution. He believes that there's two people there with two national identities that both need their rights respected. Yeah, that's his opinion on it.
How do you feel about Trump?
I've never supported Trump or voted for Trump before. Personally, I'm not a fan.
Did Joe Rogan...
And your boy just endorsed him. How do you feel about that?
And just make an endorsement in the 2024 election.
They do it on the left, they do it on the right. They gaslight you, they manipulate you, they promote narratives. The only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
No.
RFK Jr. then tweeted out that clip, captioning it in part, quote, "From one legitimate guy to another, thank you, Joe Rogan, for always putting substance first."
Just 2 hours later, Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "It'll be interesting to see how loudly Joe Rogan gets booed the next time he enters the UFC ring." MAGA 2024.
He is not as bad.
And then, okay, they didn't show the part after that. Joe Rogan came out and said that that wasn't an endorsement. He didn't endorse RFK, so let's not forget that.
As Kamala Harris is, he does respect some of our freedoms and some individual rights that I do appreciate. But, you know, recently it was revealed and exposed in the press that he played a big role in getting $60 billion approved for the Ukraine war behind the scenes, getting congressmen to vote for it. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign to me for what a second Trump administration might mean. But there's no question the biggest threat we have right now is the DNC and Kamala Harris.
You know what someone told me the other day? That Kamala, you know what the root meaning of her name is? Snake. Now I don't know her personally, and I'm not trying to say that, you know, I know her character.
All right, well, these libertarian guys are making their party look really dumb. Like all the things that they normally throw out there, oh, we need drugs and smoking weed and all this stuff that isn't really that great for the country. That's pretty much what they're running with.
You know, everyday life, I don't know that. But I do know anything Democratic, the policies are absolutely atrocious. Okay? Go to Detroit. Go to the south side of Chicago. Go to Baltimore.
No shit.
Go to some of these Democratic cities that have been run by Democrats for decades. And that's all you need to look at.
Let's talk about the name Kamala. Now, Kamala is derived from the Sanskrit word Kamal, which means the lotus flower.
Lotus.
It symbolizes resilience, persistence, humility, purity, and inner strength.
My name's Kevin. I'm an actor and
I told you that dude was a tard.
an activist here in Chicago, and I'm all for free speech. You could definitely call me a civil libertarian. So I say, let's hear the views. If people have perspectives, let's share them. America's about free speech. Let's exercise it.
I heard that he made the bead. It was an RFK bead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear what. Say it again.
He made the bead.
What's that?
The RFK bead.
I'm just not understanding what you're saying. Say it
He
again.
made Robert F. Kennedy was part of the bead. Making the bead.
Robert F. Kennedy, the father or the was what?
I'm not sure it was part of making the bead. We had the RFK bead. This is day 2 of the DNC. We're at the RFK bead. As you can see, it's a beautiful bead. The freehold, as they say in California. I bet you $100 the Guardian can't come over here and record shit at the fucking bean.
The bean? Oh, I don't know anything about that. I can tell you about the bean, though. The bean is actually also known as the Cloud Gate. The Cloud Gate, and it's right over there. It's a beautiful art piece. We call it the bean affectionately here in Chicago. That's the thing about Chicago. We've got so much to share.
Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN.
Oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't NordVPN me.
There's a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Bill was killed for trying to be that Jedi, to trying to be that change agent. For him to step in and say, you know what, the Jedis are returning, it's a very powerful thing.
Do you feel like he's being silenced?
So the media has an ownership structure of a very few companies owning a very large amount of affiliates, and they present themselves generally as being objective, but there's a subjective leaning to it, and you can see the scripting across all the different channels as well, and the messaging. Lately we've saw that...
I can't with these guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just can't. They're killing me. All right. Well, it's been a good one. I'm going to log off. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate the subscribes. And we're going to have to do it again.